All right, looks like I'm live. All right, I'm going to wait a little bit before I start the meditation. Maybe wait till 3, 4, 5 minutes are in so we get some more people. If anybody has any questions in the meantime, just let me know. I just want to wait a little bit. So if you're joining me for the meditation, I see there's only 2 people with me right now. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just creating kind of a space for myself. So for me, the sage, for me, it doesn't necessarily have anything metaphysical to it. I mean, there might be some of those aspects, but I use it as kind of like a ceremony to sort of put me in a headspace of like, now I'm designating this amount of time to practice something that is meaningful to me. So sort of put me in a headspace like this is, this is important. So kind of tuning out the rest of my life, tuning out like the part of the busy mind, the stuff that I've been doing throughout my day, and sort of moving into this space. So that's kind of what I'm doing with the sage right now. There's nothing like fancy about it. And by doing that, I'm sort of cleansing out the old energy to some degree. Energy is just like thought patterns and emotions and stuff like that. It's moving those away and moving into a different kind of space. So that's kind of what I'm doing with the sage right now. And I can also do that like in the space of my room, so then the room feels a little bit better. And I don't do this when I necessarily every day or like when I meditate on my own. I usually do this when I'm doing it with other people, just because it helps to people. It helps people to kind of bring their minds into a more centered space. So it's just a practice, I guess. I'm just gonna do my room real quick. This specific area. So if you want to do your own version of that, where you're at, does it have a scent when I burn it? Yeah, it does have a scent. How does it smell? It's kind of hard to describe how it would smell. It's got a very herbal smell to it when it burns, and even when it's not burned, it has a very strong smell. Um, but if you want to do your own little ritual or own little ceremony before we go into meditation to sort of help you wind down, it could be essential oils. It could be, just taking a few deep breaths, paying attention to your body. Notice how you feel right now. That's something that you can do before we go into a meditation. Whatever works for you. It's just about sort of letting go of what's going on in your life right now and just moving into the space of um, practice, I guess, or becoming aware of what's going on inside of you. So, all right. So if you haven't gotten to a place where you're comfortable seating, you can go ahead and do that. You don't have to participate in this if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. So if you just want to watch, that's totally fine. So just go ahead and get comfortable. And the first thing we're going to do is just kind of notice how we're feeling right now. So if you're feeling a little bit wired, a little bit anxious, a little bit, I just got off work a couple hours ago, and I just had an interaction with, I had an interview with someone, so I'm a little bit high energy right now, so I can kind of feel that. So just kind of sit and notice what's going on. There's no good or bads. It's just observing. Um, so just take a few breaths just with that. Notice some tension in your body, maybe. Pretty much always have tension in my neck. Notice the sounds around you, like my cell phone ringing. Another spam call. Let's go ahead and mute that so it doesn't distract me. There we go. All right. So now that we've kind of settled in, we've got our space. Let's go ahead and take the breath in. And a breath out. We'll do 5 more of those. Kind of noticing how you're feeling as you take each of these breaths and how some of those feelings may be staying or dissipating. So we finished the 5 breaths. And now we're just going to kind of let go of the breath, tune into our body, feel how our body feels now. Just let the breath do its own thing. And then just pay attention to the breath as it goes in and out on its own rhythm. There's nothing to do right now. There's nothing to worry about at this point. If there is something that comes up, just acknowledge it, acknowledge that it's there, and then just come back to the breath. Just noticing whatever comes up. Know that it's normal to have thoughts. You don't need to be hard on yourself for that. Just acknowledging, being gentle, and then coming back to the breath. And then gently start to feel your body again. Start to feel maybe what's similar, what's different. Just wiggling your toes, fingers. Maybe staying with the breath if you want to. And then slowly just coming back to the space. So it wasn't a super long meditation. I don't want to necessarily do a long one today, but it's pretty simple. Just basically want to do something that would help us to kind of come into this space now and maybe calm down after what's been going on in your day. So you're creating your sphere of consciousness, right? I'm not really sure what you mean by sphere of consciousness. I could be. I just have to understand what you mean by that. Uh, so yeah, I'll probably let me know if you guys are interested in me making like specific meditation videos because I've done a lot of visualization meditations and stuff like that with my Reiki training and other things like that. If that's something you're interested in, I could definitely do more of those. But my goal in having these kind of live streams is to sort of get a sense of what you guys are interested in hearing, and also getting a sense of um, what might be helpful and where to go forward from here, and also to make connections with you guys because I think it's a nice thing to have to be live with you. So I was reading the comments. So, what are your thoughts on drinking post psychosis? That's up to you. I mean, you have to talk. I haven't heard of drinking triggering psychosis. You'd have to talk to your doctor if it's okay, like with the medication you have. I mean, obviously, if you're drinking to get drunk, that's something that you might want to. I don't know. uh, it's up to you. You know, um, if alcohol is like something you start to become dependent on, then that's a bigger issue. So you might want to um, you know deal with that and not use alcohol. But if you're just drinking casually, just talk to your doctor and see if it interacts with your meds. Hey dude, thanks for the videos. I had a break in November 2019. It was a wild ride, man. Yeah, Psychosis is a very wild ride. Um, Definitely, for me, I learned a lot from it, but I would not recommend it to anybody. It's not a pleasant experience per se. It's a lot of stuff going on with those. Reintegrating back into society and having conversations. So my first psychosis, it took me a long time to sort of reintegrate. There's a lot of I felt very vulnerable and sensitive right after my psychosis, and so it it took me a while. I had to gradually go in because um, I was in school at the time, so I was taking classes, and after the classes that I was taking, I basically had to take some time off because of the psychosis, and I had to go back to school to finish them. And so as I went back to school, I felt vulnerable. I had to go with my mom to go with me because I didn't feel safe, or not safe. It was more that I was really sensitive to what was going on around me. So it gradually took me time to feel more grounded, and I had to like actively put myself out there, like going to school or going to going to work, like I started working at Chipotle, and that's kind of what helped me reintegrate over time. And it wasn't easy at first, and I felt awkward. I felt socially awkward, which is something I always kind of struggled with. So it just takes time to get there. At times I find it hard to get in conversation, but it's getting better. Yeah, it's just practice, honestly. Like there's no like magical answer. It's just you just have to kind of try, and it'll be hard, but eventually it'll get better with time. How long did you take time off? I took for my first psychosis. I think it was like 4 to 5 months. I think it took me, and then I gradually, maybe it was like 3 to 4 months. Then I started gradually going back to school. I actually graduated on time, which was very surprising from college, and so it took me a while. Like I said, it took me about 4 years to recover from my first one, where I felt like I was sort of back on my feet again. But then I had another one because I was still struggling with some other things. Oh, thank you, Anwar. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy to share, and I didn't really have someone to go to in my experiences who'd been through one before. So if I can help other people who have gone through something like this, then that's amazing. So that's why I made this channel. So I'm glad that you find it helpful. Thank you. So you went to a mental health center in Canada, and how's the system over in the U.S.? System isn't great. There's I mean, I was pretty fortunate to go to a center that was decent. I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding of what psychosis is. There's not a ton of research, I don't think, on like how to help people in psychosis. I could be wrong, but like from what I've seen, they don't really have a treatment plan other than just give them medication, which from my understanding and my experience is not the best way to help somebody who's gone through psychosis. It's one tool, which is super important, but it's not every tool. Because the thing is with psychosis is it's not just the psychosis. It's a person experiencing the psychosis. It's someone who's gone through an experience. And so if you tell them that everything they've experienced is wrong, is incorrect, that it's not true, it's very much invalidates their experience, and it makes it very even more traumatizing than it already was to go through. And so I think part of the treatment plan that needs to be implemented, that needs to be part of the backbone of helping people with psychosis, is like treating them as people and not as people who are sick or something is wrong with them, and listening to their story and acknowledging that that they went through this, and listen and have empathy. I think there's a lot of lack of empathy in that in our system. So I think that's a problem that needs to be addressed, and that's one reason why another reason why I share what I do on my channel. How do you distinguish between normal and psychotic thoughts and trusting yourself to think again? That's a great question. That's a very that's something that I think about a lot, because when I make my content, I want to make sure that I'm not that I don't say anything that's going to lead somebody further into a psychotic state. So I think about like, how do I keep things simple and practical? Let's see. So how do you distinguish between normal and sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, and I'm terrible at multitasking. So let me finish Anwar's question. It's a gray area, Anwar. It's very hard to distinguish at first. And if you have doubts, if you don't know what is psychotic or what is normal, you can always ask someone else. So you can always ask them, be like, hey, like, this is what I'm thinking. Does this make sense? Is this rational? It's always nice to have a backboard. And so it's going to take time. That's something you have to figure out for yourself, what is normal and what's psychotic, because there's not like a magic answer for that. You have to sort of distinguish and figure out for yourself and investigate, like, is this something that's, can I find is this based in reality, or is this based off of assumptions that I've made? And I find it really hard to stay to sort of get to a normal state unless you've kind of come out of the psychotic state. So I kind of use psychosis as like a state of consciousness, and then normal waking reality is a different state. So if you're in a state, it's kind of hard to um, get out of that frame of mind. You know, it's kind of like how Einstein said, it's, I don't know, something about the same, if you stay in the same state of mind, you can't solve the problem in which it was created. So, something like that. I'd have to look it up. I guess I could look it up right now, but um, you kind of have to get out of that state. And that's where medication is really helpful, because it kind of gets you out of that state so you can kind of get to a more normal, like where you've got one foot in the normal world and then one foot in the sort of psychotic world, and you're able to kind of slowly um, realize what is psychotic thoughts and what is not a psychotic thought. How do I get into meditation? What do you mean? I swallow cum. What do you mean by that? Like, do you have a hard time? If you explain what you mean by that, I might be able to help. For sure, I feel as though there's a lot of stigma even among some of the people I used to know. Yeah, it's a very misunderstood situation. Psychosis is, for sure. Not to say you have psychotic thoughts. Yeah. All right. Where do you want to take the YouTube channel? Honestly, the YouTube channel, it just kind of, whenever I'll feel inspired to like make a video. So I'll have like an idea or I'll have an insight. So I'm always working on something. I'm always trying to like better myself and understand myself better. So whenever I feel like I have an insight or an understanding into something, then I will basically make a video. Like recently, I've been thinking about sort of how there's this focus in people who have experienced psychosis on like mystical thinking and sort of this, at least in my experience, I focused a lot on mystical, magical thinking. And I think there's a lot of people in spiritual communities that are sort of endeared, or like they're kind of like go gooey eyed over like how mystics do things and how like there's like magic and all that kind of stuff. And I've been thinking about how like, for me, from my experience, there's nothing that's really like mystical. For me, it's all just experience. It's all just like, it's all real things that happen to people. So if there's somebody who, you know, can go into a different state of consciousness, that's not like a mystical thing. That's something that they've practiced over time and they're able to achieve. And so when you put like something as a mystical experience, or like something that like seems like very like, wow, that's like amazing, and I can't achieve it, it makes it unaccessible to people. So like going into altered states, experiencing different realities, experiencing like profound states of understanding yourself, those aren't like unattainable to people. Like those are accessible. Those are things that everybody can experience. It's just a matter of practicing and being able to listen to what's happening, for sure. I feel a lot of stigma even among, okay. Mm-hmm. I feel my creativity has been stunted for the time being post-psychosis. This ties in with conversation and peace as well. Any of your recommendations on actually how to make that better? Yeah, I mean, in my experience, when I was going through my post-psychosis experience, I didn't feel motivated to do things. Like I was very, very depressed. Like my mom had to like get me out of bed, like physically pull me out of bed to do something. And so that was hard. But I think just by doing stuff and getting out there and trying stuff and not pushing myself necessarily, but like just showing up is what helps. So if you have problems with creativity and stuff like that, my recommendation, I guess, or like something that might help you based on what's helped me would be to just try stuff. Just try, being creative again. And, you may not have the best idea, but just go with what you have. And it's like a muscle, creativity is like a muscle. If you keep working at it, it's going to get better. So it's maybe just, if you keep working at it, you might get to the place where you were before with it. It just takes time. How do you go about having a conversation during COVID? There was a period of time where I was simply isolated. I'm really trying to change that. I mean, yeah, feel free to, definitely make YouTube videos. That's a great way to build your creativity. And don't, um, try not to judge yourself based off of what you make. Just make it you, make it something that you're passionate about, because that's what's going to matter the most. That's what's most important. As far as making conversations during COVID, um, if you don't have a job or you don't have sort of a community that you're involved with, um, I'm sure there's some online platforms that you might be able to join, like some Discord servers or something, where you can just join in and start talking about stuff. Um, I'm not super familiar with them because I do have some. I have a job right now, so I talk with people. I have a roommate. My girlfriend lives with me, so I'm not really worried about socializing. But that's something that you could do, is join a community online, um, if if you don't have someone to talk to. Yeah, it could be something you're interested in. It might help your creativity too, actually. So I don't know if I Swallow is still in here, but I'll get back to you. I'll try to answer your question. How do you get into meditation? You just do it. I mean, you just pay attention to your breath. Meditation is a very broad term, so it depends on what kind of meditation you're doing. But if you're trying to, meditation really just means a mindfulness exercise. So you're intentionally concentrating on one thing. Um, that's what meditation is. So that that's how you get into meditation. You can watch. I have a meditation video that you can watch. It's one of my last videos. I think it was mm, maybe 5 videos ago. I made a meditation video. So yeah, I understand that, Alex. Yeah, you don't have to. You could just do an online platform or something. That would be that'd be cool. Like I'm doing now. I'm social. I'm talking with people right now. You guys aren't responding with you know auditory words, but you're writing physical words on my screen, so that's fun. Um, so I hope that answers your question. I Swallow. So, okay, that's cool. Nice. What kind of stuff do you write about? My future career goals. My goal would be to be like a coach or like a therapist or like somebody who helps people get through their what they're stuck on. I think that each person has like an innate ability to heal themselves. So my goal would be to become someone who full time. I wouldn't want to full time just be working with people full time, like full time counseling. I don't want to have a balance of doing stuff where I'm speaking to a larger audience and then working with people one on one or in groups to help people sort of overcome the things that they're stuck with. Um, that would be my future goal. I'm already working with people one on one, so that's something I do enjoy to do. It's really rewarding. Okay, cool, nice. But yeah, YouTube is kind of my platform where I can just express myself and share my experience and my insights, because I think a lot about things, and so when I have ideas or when I have an insight that I want to share, my YouTube channel gives me an outlet to be able to do that. And sometimes um, people like my ideas, and sometimes they don't. But that's how it goes. So, and I'm still pretty new to YouTube, so I've only been doing it 3 years. So I'm sure if I keep at it, people will find me, and hopefully it helps them. If it doesn't, then maybe I need to change my perspective, I guess. But everything I share on my channel has been helpful for me, so that's why I share it. How do you not get lost in thought? Um, that's kind of a difficult question, because it kind of depends what's causing it. But it's okay to have thoughts. There's this kind of this idea that thoughts are bad, especially like when people talk about meditation and stuff like that. It's not about getting rid of thoughts per se. It's about the biggest thing is becoming aware of the thoughts and not resisting them, but just allowing them to be there. A lot of times people have rushing thoughts because they're resisting something, or there's something that's kind of stuck. So as soon as you become aware that you're thinking, that's like the first step. So if you're aware that you're thinking, then you can sort of pay attention to what's happening, and then you can bring it to an anchor, like the breath or your body. The anchor just kind of keeps you able to focus your attention on something. Um, but if you're trying to not get lost in thought, noticing what's happening and then coming to an anchor is going to be helpful. But if you're constantly getting lost in thought, um, deep breathing can be really helpful, like because it sort of really puts an anchor on the breath. If you're breathing deeply, it's going to put a strong anchor on it. So it really helps you to come into your body more and not so much in the head. Um, if you look up the Wim Hof method, that I use, it's super helpful. Like if you have a lot of racing thoughts, the breathing exercise can be very helpful to help with racing thoughts. And that's sort of like a deep breathing exercise. It's kind of like hyperventilating a little bit, but it sort of helps you to come into your body, and actually shuts off. It turns off a little bit the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for a lot of the heavy thinking that we do. So that's one way to sort of emergency um, turn off the thinking brain for a little bit. But long term, it's about awareness and not resisting, but allowing things to be there, and eventually they'll kind of settle on their own. Buddhists use the metaphor of, like, if you're stirring a pond, it'll be muddy, but if you let the pond still, let all the thoughts just kind of do their thing and not get involved, the mud will sift down to the bottom, and the pond will become clear. So that's the metaphor for the mind. The mind will become clear. So that's kind of an example. Would I ever move to another country? Yeah, possibly. I'm half French, so I actually lived in France for a year. Um, so, oh, thanks, Alex. Yeah, I'll check them out. Let me write that down. I appreciate the compliment. Shoot, where's the piece of paper? There we go. Jump Cut Academy. Jump Cut Academy. But yeah, the biggest thing, Anwar, is to just don't try to resist the thoughts. It just makes them stronger. Just learn how to observe them, and accepting them is going to be a more powerful strategy than trying to resist them. which unfortunately is not taught to us in our culture, which I think that it should be something we learn in school is how to deal with emotions. But you know, most people don't learn how to deal with them or how to deal with thoughts until they actually go through something that is so overwhelming that they don't know what to do, and then they go to counseling or they, you know, seek out some other help, and that's why they learn. But you know, we shouldn't have to get to the point where things are so overwhelming that that we have to learn it. So, but you also got to make a living too. We just have a Patreon. I have a PayPal account attached to my YouTube channel, so I don't necessarily um, promote that. I guess I should ask for people to donate to me, but I have the PayPal attached to my YouTube channel. It's in all my descriptions on my YouTube videos. So some people donate to me. Yeah, it should be mandatory, Anwar. I totally agree. I think I think learning how to navigate through relationships, communication, learning how to deal with your own emotions, um, finance, learning how to manage money. Those are all things that like everybody's going to use in their life, and they're almost more important than math because like everybody has a cell phone. You can do math on your computer or on your cell phone. You know, you don't need math necessarily to be successful in life, but you do need communication skills, the ability to manage your emotions and your mental space, and be able to manage your money. So I don't know why we don't have those in our education system. Those are like the three most important things, but we don't teach it. Strange world we live in. Where could I learn Reiki? I mean, there's Reiki pretty much everywhere. Um, the problem is there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Like there's a lot of people in the spiritualist new age community that are really into some weird stuff, and that's you have to kind of decipher that for your own. I would look local, close to you, for some Reiki classes. It doesn't necessarily need to be Reiki; it could be just energy work. In Reiki, they say that you need like initiations or like these sort of these sort of I don't know. They base the master basically like gives you the ability or something. I don't think that's true. Um, I think anybody, no matter whether you've been sort of initiated into Reiki or not, you can do energy work. I mean, we can do an exercise right now where I bet you could feel energy. It's really not that hard. Um, everybody makes it seem to like it's mystical or something, but it's really just straightforward. I try to make it simple for people. Yeah, yeah. Aaron Dottie, I watched him a little bit, but he's a little bit to me. He's a little bit woo woo for me. Like I just don't resonate with that kind of energy that he puts out. Um, I'm more focused on the practicality aspect of things. So, um, you know, if he's saying there's an awakening happening, I'm like, okay, what concrete examples do you have of like the awakening? Which like I do believe that there's an awakening going on, but my definition of it is like first of all the world has been connected via the internet, so all information has been available to people, so they can communicate, that exchange ideas. So the whole world is connected literally with um, sorry, I just got an email interrupting. Um, has been connected. There's a lot of social justice, and things like that have been going on for a while now, like starting from the 60s, but even before then. But there's a lot that's happening right now because of the stuff that's been coming on the news and things like that. So there's a lot of movement forward. Plus, the planet, we're putting the planet at risk of, putting ourselves at risk of extinction as well as other species of animals. So we're kind of in a time where there's a lot of pressure on us to change and to look at our connection with nature and each other in a way that's, you know, it's either we're going to make it or we're going to end up extinct, you know. So it is a time of significant change, whether you want to call that awakening or whether you want to call that like, you know, a critical time in history, it's happening, you know. So I just have a different way of defining it, I guess, as opposed to what it is, to be an individual in society, work, education. Yeah. What is that referring to? Exactly what it is. Yeah, exactly what it means to be human. Yeah, because our roles in society are important too. But I think that I think we need to have the foundation first. The foundation is what it is to be human, and then on top of that, once you have those skills, then you can choose sort of the field that you want to go into master, you know, or to contribute. So, what would be good recommendations for YouTube channels about spirituality and guided meditations? I feel like I've outgrown past sources. Well, I wish I could say mine, but I haven't made that many guided meditations. But maybe I will make guided meditations. Um, as far as spirituality, what are you looking for? Because I really like Dakota. Um, he talks a lot about psychedelics, which is probably where he gets a lot of his insights. But he has a lot of really grounded wisdom and insights that I really appreciate. His channel's called Dakota of Earth. But maybe I'll start making more meditations because it sounds like people are interested in that. Um, and I feel like they're helpful for people, especially for people who may not have had a ton of experience with meditation. It might be a good place to start for some people. Um, so that's something I can definitely do. But yeah, check out Dakota of Earth. He's got some interesting ideas, and he's a very down to earth guy. Like I said, he does talk about drugs a lot, but I go to him more for well, drugs. I mean, like plant medicine. He does a lot of ayahuasca and he smokes cannabis and stuff. Um, but I appreciate a lot of his ideas. Yeah, my second psychosis happened because of smoking weed. I Well, it's always a combination of things. So I think weed kind of like led me to more of a manic state, and then once I was manic, well, not manic, but I felt like sort of like vibrating. I guess like I was just like I felt very. I guess it was kind of manic, but it's like right before you kind of flip over to the psychotic state feeling. And then I had that connection with that girl, which was kind of the trigger for the actual psychosis. I had been off of cannabis for about 2 weeks when my second psychosis happened. So it kind of got me to the state, and then there was a trigger that led me to the actual psychosis. So it's always been a combination of things. But I'm not smoking weed ever again. Um, it's too risky for me because I know that's going to cause issues. It's not worth it. I'd rather stay in this reality. Okay. Prodromal phase. That's interesting. I'm gonna look that up. Prodromal. Okay, that makes sense. Prodromal initial relating to or denoting the period between the appearance of initial symptoms and the full development of a rash or fever. Okay, so prodromal for psychosis. Makes sense. But what kind of meditations are you looking for? Because I might make a video for it if you're interested in one. I'm sure other people are too. What uh what kind of meditation would you like to do? Yeah, you were doing brownie, CBD, and smoking. I use CBD now. I have CBD flowers, and it's been okay for me. I asked my doctor if I could use CBD, and she said that it was okay. She just said as long as there's no THC, which there is a little bit of THC in CBD flowers, but it's like 0.5% or something. So it hasn't been a problem. Um, but she did say no THC, so she probably wouldn't approve of the flowers, but at least the CBD, she said it was okay. Here to Help BC Psychosis. Okay, I'll check that out. Because it's good to have resources to turn people to if they're feeling like they need help. Okay, cool. I'll check this out. I'll read through that. I might learn some stuff from it. Onward, you had the thought. Please do some about being in the moment and allowing thoughts to come and go. Okay, I'll make one of those. I have Anwar, I have one of those meditations already made. Actually, just a simple meditation. I made it like a couple weeks ago. If you want to check it out, it's a 10-minute meditation. You can kind of skip to the meditation if you want to, because I think I talked a little bit beforehand. But I had an experience over the summer. I had been smoking a lot every day. I am 16 and I started to have a spiritual awakening over the summer, but continued to smoke and keep living life I was living. Okay, so are you okay then? Then you just kind of kept going on? Yeah, of course. I'll make some more meditation videos. It seems like people want that, so I'll do some visualizations and some other things. Yeah, I've got the page pulled up. I'm gonna keep it up, and I will read about the different things because I'm sure I'll learn some more about psychosis and um, how to help other people and how to help me. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. The Here to Help BC Psychosis. But Garrett, I mean, if if that works for you, that works for you. I came to a point in my house where I was spoken all the time, and sudden I heard an inner voice overlap with mine, so I can use when not scared. Okay. I mean, sure. Okay. I mean, just be careful, Garrett, because you know, I wouldn't. My recommendation is always to be cautious with things. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't really give you any advice on what to do as far as that goes. But just be careful, And it's when you're playing with altered states, you never know what's going to happen. So most people are fine, but some people have other kinds of experiences. So just be careful. Out of psychosis, but choose not to make it medic. Awesome, MP. That's great. I'm great. I'm glad to hear that. Some people don't need medication. Other people do. I view it as a tool. I've said it before. Um, I don't see it as like a bad thing. It's just like having a tool in your toolbox. So, if you didn't need to use that tool, that's great. For other people, it's an essential tool. Everybody's got different tools that work for different people. So, I'm glad you were able to recover from your experience. And then the visual started again and again, like a series. Began to panic and felt my heart beating out of my chest. I started to think I was having a heart attack. Felt like I was stuck. Yeah, I mean, if you take a high dose of cannabis, that can happen. It's a mild psychedelic, so it can create sort of psychedelic like effects. Into reality breaking between dimensions. By the way, I can only say so many words per chat, and I wanted to talk to someone about this for a long time. Okay. Well, Garrett, if you want to talk with me one on one, I do one-on-one sessions. Um, we can schedule a session and talk if that would be easier because it sounds like you have a lot to share. Might be easier to do that. You can message me on Instagram or through my email. Or if you want to share it on here, that's fine too. It's up to you. And my worst experience had to be walking to an airport to take a flight to save the world, also going to some bad places and getting into some altercations. Yeah, it's definitely, I think anybody who's experienced psychosis has experienced some things that were sketchy or weird. Um, I ended up, well, you probably know, but I ended up crashing my car in the first one and ended up in my boxers at some random person's house. So, um, yeah, it's a trip. Not a trip I would recommend anybody. Don't go look seeking out for it. But um, my email, I'll type it in the chat. Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, you can reach out to me through my email or my Instagram. And if you want to support me, you can contribute to my PayPal, which is um, linked to my YouTube channel. So it's on the homepage, also um, on the description of all my videos. So if you want to donate to me, do I activate a third eye? Um, hmm. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've done meditations and I've had visions of things and stuff like that before, but I don't do a specific third eye activation meditation or anything like that. I think there's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of hype and excitement around the third eye, um, which is because it's exciting and people like the fireworks and they like to see things and experience things. But my approach on wellness is more on the whole self, so not just the third eye, because the way I view it is the whole chakra system is connected. So it's not just like one system and then one system and once they're all interconnected. So if you just focus on one, you're not really developing as a person. You need to kind of work on all of them at once. And so as you open the whole system, then they all open at once. Um, I don't focus on the third eye. I think as the whole system grows and as the whole thing kind of grows, then the third eye will naturally open. You'll start to have experiences that are more um, some people call it mystical, but I don't think there's anything really mystical about them. It's just that you're just opening up to different, you're just becoming more aware of where you are and what's going on. You know, the picture is widening. And so that just takes practice. So no, I don't activate specifically my third eye, but um, I do meditate and I do work on myself and I do. I don't do energy work on myself all the time, but I do. I think everybody works with energy. It's just where they're aware of what work they're doing on themselves or not. Everybody's an energy worker. They just don't realize it, or they'll call it something else. Sorry, Garrett. All right, Garrett. I'll finish sharing on here or Instagram. It doesn't matter. I always continue to go to my brother's room, and he assured me I was fine, but I was experienced of some sort. I looked in the mirror and believed that I had been. Is this all happening while you're on THC or is it happening while you're not on THC? I'm going to be doing this stream for probably an hour and a half because I'm going to, well, I don't know if I want to do readings or not. It depends if people want to or not. But I can do readings for people. I enjoy doing them. So I'll probably stay on for an hour and a half because some people don't see that I'm doing a live stream until like halfway through, so it gives people a chance to get on. I want people to be able to ask me questions if they want to. Can you explain that further, how you connect to abstract ideas like energy without sliding? So that's a good question, Anwar. So for me, what I did is, so I had a lot of experiences with energy and stuff like that. Obviously, everybody does with, a psychosis. Everybody's kind of tapped into a different space. It took me a while to sort of come down from that. So the focus after psychosis should be to like ground yourself, because you can't really reflect on the psychosis until you've actually come back down. As far as like chakras and energy and all that stuff goes, you have to become aware for yourself of what is healthy for you and what is not. So if you feel like you're starting to slide and it's not helpful for you, and you're starting to you feel like you're going delusional again, or you feel like something's not right, then you have to decide if that is right for you at the time. Because I think there's a time to work on those kind of things, and there's a time to focus on just focusing on just doing your job, doing your work, not putting your mind on energy work and stuff like that. But I think a good practice is just the simple breath work of just focusing on the breath and just noticing what's going on with your mind. That's a great practice, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've done other things like the energy work and stuff like that, but just becoming aware of what's happening in your body is like one of the most powerful tools you can possibly give yourself. Like awareness of what's going on inside you, inside your mind. That's very strong medicine there. So basically, my answer, Anwar, is you have to take ownership of what feels right for you, what feels healthy for you or not. So it was while I was high. Looking back, I could see the signs towards a psychosis coming, but I didn't know it. I struggled to sleep, trembling, but did, and woke up in a panic attack, but not in the psychosis. Um, so for days, I was out of it, and I would just have these thoughts. I was standing behind, my eyes looking. Do I have a link for the stream? Just copy the URL that you're watching the stream on, and you should be able to post it. Also, if you want to post it after it's posted, share it after it's posted, because it's going to end in like 30 minutes. Then just copy the link from the video there. But thank you, Anwar. I appreciate that. I still have a lot to learn. All the stuff that I talk about is just like from my experience that I've been through. I've struggled with a lot, and I've tried to work through it, but I still struggle with things, and I definitely don't think I have all the answers. That's for sure. But thank you. I appreciate that. Um, for days. Okay. Garrett, why don't you share your story with me on Instagram? Because I feel like I need to like specifically focus on what you're telling me, and I think it's going to be a specific answer. So, have you had the thought that you are everything, and everything is you? Our separation is to make infinity interesting. Yeah, definitely, Joshua. Um, my Insta is this. Hold on, what is my Insta? I think it's hmaro19. That should be my Insta. Have you had the thought that everything is you and our separations? Yeah. So I'll tell you sort of like what my perspective on reality is, I guess. So basically, I think that we're these souls experiencing this life, right? And part of us is here, part of our soul is here present in this body, but we're also connected to the rest of the universe. So we're not like separate from it. And you can look at that from a physical perspective, or, if you want to get into the spiritual perspective. But literally, the water I drink is probably going to end up in every single other thing that ever lives on this planet at some point. It's like I'm literally made of stardust from different stars that have exploded over thousands, millions, billions of years. So it's all interconnected. And so um, there's the soul is connected to our body, but it's also tethered to the source of creation from my perspective, where there's no time and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go all the way into it, but yeah, I have thought of that, Joshua. But I think it's more than making it interesting. I think there's a whole process that's unfolding. I think there's development, there's growth. It's more than just interesting. There's actual work being done while experiencing this reality, while being embodied in this life. So it's more than just being interesting. It's almost necessary, I think, for expansion and growth to happen. I think I could be wrong. Probably am wrong, most likely. But all right. If nobody has any other questions, I can move to doing readings. But questions are still welcome. Um, feel free to ask questions whenever. But if somebody wants a reading, I'd be happy to do a reading for you. We'll do that for the last like 28 minutes. Unless nobody wants readings, in case I'll just sit here in silence. Yeah, go for it, Joshua. Yeah, I think there's always more to unfold. And I think we have free will for sure. Okay. Anwar, is there anything that you want addressed, or any specific question? You just want kind of a general reading? Joshua, as far as spirits and extraterrestrial life is, are we connected or different paths? I think we're both connected, and we're on different paths. Um, because we're connected on the whole grand scheme that everything's connected, but we're on different paths because we're on this earth. Spirits are on a different realm. Um, extraterrestrials are on different planets. So we're connected because everything interacts with each other. Like, if you think about it from a physical way, the gravitational force of the earth may be small in the grand scheme of the universe, but it still impacts planets across the universe. Its impact may be minute, like basically minuscule, but it still has an impact on the rest of the universe. Spirits, they have their own dimension, but they're also tied to the rest of the universe too, and so they're connected in this way. So it's both going to be different and connected. That's my perspective. So career path, and more. I hope that answered your question, Joshua. Again, I don't know the answers. This is just like me, like my best guess at what's the truth. which is probably like it cannot be described most likely in words. It's probably more of an experience, which I think we're probably all experiencing right now. We just don't realize it. All right, career path for Anwar. Two cards. Yeah, two cards. All right. Heart Guardian, love and let yourself be loved. And Star Answer, follow the voice of your soul. Star Ancestor. So this is your first card, Anwar. Yeah, go ahead and ask the question, Joshua. It's fine. So love yourself. Well, it says love and let yourself be loved. Then the other card is the Star Ancestor, follow the voice of your soul. So basically, what I'm getting from this is be gentle with yourself as far as your career goes. You know, just give space and recognition to yourself. You know, like don't be hard on yourself. You know, it's okay to be where you are. You don't have to be anywhere else. It may not be like what you're looking for, but just be gentle in the process and try not to beat yourself up if you feel like you're not doing enough or you're not like good enough where you are. Just realize that it's okay to be where you are, and it's part of your development. You know, everything you do, you're gonna grow. So don't beat yourself up because of where you are right now. Star Ancestor, follow the voice of your soul. So you know, whatever intrigues you, whatever is interesting to you, whatever like you find that you're passionate about, follow that. You know, follow the things that you feel like you're drawn to. Follow the things that you are interested in. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to start off like immediately going into that career, but you can sort of inch your way towards that. So you can start volunteering, you can start doing little projects, you can, you know, just play with stuff and see what is fun and brings enjoyment to your life. So that's kind of what I'm feeling for you, Anwar. So be gentle with yourself and follow your interests, your you know, your passions. What makes you happy? Yeah, I don't know how this all works, but it does. Sometimes it just comes through and it makes sense. I'm glad it resonated with you. That's awesome. Let me get to Joshua's question. Very cool. Have you had experience of ET on plant meds? No, I honestly don't have that a lot of experience on plant medicine. The only experiences I've had are low doses of mushroom. Like I've did low dose of mushrooms twice. I've smoked cannabis and I did DMT once, and I didn't have a breakthrough. But I don't think I'll be doing any more plant meds in the future, other than CBD for now, just because it's dangerous for me. But I did not experience anything with ETs on plant medications, or not plant medication, plant medicine. Um, yeah. I was in a group, so you know, if anybody wants a reading or have any questions, go ahead and ask. But I'm going to share a story. I was in a sort of a energy work community, and they were like super into ETs. Like they thought they could like communicate with them and like channel them and stuff like that. And I was like on board for a little bit because I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. But I just saw like I started to see through it, and I started to see that it was kind of um, you know, phony, which is why I try to keep everything simple for people, because I think some people tend to get caught up in kind of the like, oh my god, they can like channel like the you know, the different beings, different ETs and stuff like that, which you know they could be, but it just doesn't resonate with me, and it just felt weird. So I don't really talk about extraterrestrials much because like I don't see how it's necessarily helpful for me in my daily life. I try to focus on things that are going to help people, and you know that's not part of my path, so it's not something I necessarily share a lot. So um, pretty much. All right. Does anybody else want a reading? have any questions for me? Yeah, of course, Joshua. Yeah, and I'm trying to. The thing I've been thinking about recently is like, how do I focus? How do I talk about spiritual things without creating more of the mystical, magical thinking? Like, oh my gosh, this is like woo woo or crazy stuff. Like some of the stuff that I've learned. So I've learned from people who like do energy work and stuff. I've had a lot of teachers, and so I've learned how to do some of the basics, and I understand it. But I find that some of the phrasing, some of the wording that people use can turn people off and make it inaccessible for people. Or some people just don't know what they're talking about and they just use a lot of woo-woo words, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, they're amazing!" These are practical things that like can be done by anybody. And so I'm trying to, I want to work more with it on my channel, but I'm trying to find a way to talk about it that makes it accessible and doesn't make it seem weird or woo woo, I guess. So, okay, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen Rogan recently, but I know he talks about pretty much anything. Yeah, I mean, I've watched Ancient Aliens and stuff like that, so I believe that like it's possible that that ETs. I think it's probably more abstract to think that extraterrestrials haven't come here at some point, because we're kind of later in the time of the universe than other planets. So there's probably other planets that have intelligent life, um, probably more intelligent than us. But I don't get into it a lot. It's just I acknowledge the possibility, but I don't focus on it. Alex, okay, what kind of reading do you want? What do you want me to focus on? Life is hoo hoo. What do you mean? Is that a joke, or is that a typo? Hoo hoo hoo. Marcus Aurelius. I'll write that down. Woo woo. Okay, okay, yeah. Life is woo woo. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think everything is like everything is. I think Einstein said you can view everything as a miracle or not as a miracle. I think there's two ways to look at life, but I view everything as a miracle basically, or everything is not a miracle. It's like the same. I don't think that's the way he meant the quote, but I don't think anything should be viewed as different or superior to anything else. It's all created equal. Yeah, life is a mystery. I agree with that for sure. Yeah. On love and social life. Okay, we can do that. Let me write down that guy's name. Marcus Aurelius. Okay. Note card. Yeah, I mean it's a miracle that like we're able to walk around and talk and have conversations and digest our food. Like everything about life is a miracle. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I'm still figuring out how I want to talk about it. I don't want people to fall into the same traps that I did in my experience, which was getting stuck in the abstract and not focusing on the actual results of spiritual practices. So I'm trying to cut out some of the mistakes that I made for people so they can move faster than me. So see from a higher perspective and energy, create abundance. Okay. So you have the eagle. This is for social life and love life. So we have the eagle, see from a higher perspective. And exchange energy to create abundance. So more than likely, it seems like you might be over analyzing your social situation or your love life situation. Look at it from a different perspective or a higher perspective. Um, it doesn't, social life and love life doesn't need to be complicated or intricate. It can be very simple. And I think a lot of society is caught up with the fireworks and like how it's supposed to be amazing. I mean, they always make these movies of rom-coms of everything's like a miracle and like, oh my God, I'm falling in love and it's like perfect. That's not life, you know. That's you know, we find people, but love, there's not like background music, you know, in your life when you're like falling in love and stuff like that. It's very simple and it's um, I don't know, it's not how it's portrayed, I guess. So maybe viewing it from a different perspective and just maybe acknowledging the relationships that you do have in your life and like focusing on those. Um, but then also sort of working on those relationships, working on developing relationship skills, on communication, on basically making those relationships stronger and learning from those. Because as you become better with relationships, with communication, you're going to start to meet more people, and you're going to start to actually, um, you know, be more proficient in relationships. So there's always an opportunity with anybody you come across to sort of develop and work on those relationships. So I don't think I even showed you these cards. Maybe I did. The equal, higher perspective, and then the trader to create energy and abundance. So try not to get too focused on the details, but focus more on a higher perspective of like, am I growing in relationship? What can I work on in the relationship? How can I communicate this better? How can I navigate through this better? I think that's going to be helpful for you to be able to develop and grow in relationship with others. So then you know, when you come across somebody who you really connect with, you're able to have those skills to be able to, um, you know, have a healthy relationship with them. So abstract versus, I hope that helped, Alex. Let me know how that resonated with you. Yeah, of course. Did it resonate with you or was it completely like off the mark? Because that's okay too, you know. You can call me out if it doesn't help you at all. Let's see. On my social life. Okay, yep. On love life. I mean, mystery. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that, Alex. Abstract versus actual experiences. What are examples of actual spiritual experience and what is abstract to avoid? Okay, that's actually a good video to make. Thank you. Spiritual experiences versus abstract. So I'll talk about that right now briefly. But the abstract is basically like essentially becoming enamored with fireworks, with like the euphoria, the sort of the highs of the spiritual path, and not focusing on the actual work, which is the internal work, which is not comfortable, the stuff that you know, the depression, the pain, the insecurities, the anxiety. That's the juicy stuff. That's where the actual work happens. So spiritual experiences, I know a lot of people talk about like emerging into bliss and like everything's amazing, but a lot of the work is really like looking at where things haven't gone the way we wish they would have, and figuring out what is causing that. Is that our perspective on life that's causing that dissonance? Is it an emotional blockage or an emotional trauma that we've experienced, or something that's been told to us that we believe now? That's really the inner work, not the chasing the highs, which I see a lot of people in the New Age community doing. They're like, yeah, I was so blissed out on the meditation, it was magical. And I'm like, okay, well, what did you learn from it? And they're like, and then, you know, they don't have any answers. I don't know. I've never asked them that, but it just doesn't seem. It seems very superficial. It doesn't seem very genuine. When I talk to somebody who's done their work, you can really tell that they have an understanding of themselves, and they've really like gone into the parts of themselves that were painful and hard, and they've gone through their depressions and stuff like that. That's really spiritual work. It's not easy stuff. Look at causation stripped bare of its covers. Look at the ulterior reference of any action. Consider what is pain, what is pleasure, what is death, what is fame, who is not himself a cause of. Is that a quote from him? Let's see. His own. Okay, yeah, just quote. His own unrest reflect how no one is hampered by any other, and all is thinking is as, and all is as thinking makes it so. Mm-hmm. But I'd have to focus more on that, but I'll definitely check him out and see what he has to say. My plan is to foster my relationships and go on to Omegle to sharpen my skills. I'm planning on going out to the real world and making friends. I asked this since my relationship ended not too long ago. I'm sorry to hear that. It's always hard when we lose somebody who's close to us. It can be painful. But there's also a lot to learn in that. Just like I was talking about the hard stuff, sometimes it's sort of those hard experiences that make us learn the most. But that's definitely hard. I feel for you, Alex. I hope you're able to work through that. Well, we're coming to the end of the stream here, so if anybody has any last minute questions or wants a reading, let me know, and we can do that. I'm so glad that you guys joined me today. I really enjoy it. It's fun for me to be able to interact with you guys, and I'm grateful that you guys showed up to talk with me today. It means a lot. That's a good idea, Anwar. Maybe we could do an ending meditation. I like that idea. Did I ever have auditory hallucinations? I had one. It was when I was in my car during my first psychosis, and I thought I heard a monkey in my car because I had a dream with Hanuman in it, like before my first psychosis, or it was a blue monkey, which I assume was Hanuman because somebody told me that Hanuman is a blue monkey, and I did later research. But that was my only auditory hallucination. So, but I like Anwar's idea. Maybe we can close on a meditation. We have about 5 minutes left, so that's not too long of a meditation. I won't lose anybody. What do I define as psychosis? I define psychosis as it's kind of it's a state of consciousness. Like it's a state that has certain symptoms, including one of the biggest telltale signs that someone is in a psychotic state is when the feedback loop isn't there anymore. So when they believe that basically everything that is in their minds is true and real, and anything that comes to them is basically a message for that person. Like it's not like if someone says like you need to stop that, they might interpret that as something else, as like oh, I need to keep doing it. They're just testing me because I need to save the world. So there's a lack of feedback between the like reality, consensus reality, and what they're experiencing in their world. They're basically operating in a different headspace, a different reality. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like someone who's tripping on mushrooms, but they're not on mushrooms. They're just like in that state without mushrooms. But it's not like it's yeah. I had an analogy that I'll probably actually make a video about, comparing what psychosis is compared to taking like psychedelic drug, and I'll probably make that video because I think it's helpful analogy for people to understand what it's like. So I will make that video. What is psychosis like? All right. So we talked about a lot today. So let's go ahead and go into a meditation just to kind of shake it off, or just to let it integrate. Yeah, I've got homework to do. So go ahead, if you haven't already, get into a comfortable seat. And as always, you don't have to participate. It's up to you. You know, you can decide not to participate. Just watch if you want to. Just pay attention to your body. We talked about a lot today. There was a lot of intellectual thoughts that we discussed. So go ahead and just kind of let all of that go. It's not going anywhere. It'll still be in your brain later on. You just don't have to focus on it right now. Whew. We'll take a few deep breaths. Just not focusing on anything in particular, just breathing in and out deeply. Do that about 5 times. This time we're going to do a visualization, a guided visualization. So go ahead and let your breath go back to normal. You're going to place your awareness on your body, sort of how you feel in your body. Just noticing how your body moves as you breathe. And feeling your feet on the ground. If they're not on the ground, then just feeling whatever surface you're connected to the ground. Maybe your butt, your feet, whatever is connected. And then feeling kind of a warm light coming into your head from above, kind of like a sunlight shining down, filling up your body with warm light. It could be orange light, yellow light, white light, it doesn't really matter. Filling it up, going all the way through your body down to your feet, through your feet into the earth. And feeling that connection. Feeling that connection. Allowing anything that you're holding on to, any thoughts, any sort of feelings, just allowing them to slide down into the earth with that light. Not resisting anything, just allowing the visualization to carry itself. You don't need to force anything. No straining involved. Just allowing it to happen. And the energy go down into the earth. Noticing how the body feels when we do this. Taking another deep breath. Letting go of the meditation, letting go of the visualization, just allowing yourself to breathe. Coming back to the body. Coming back to the breath. Feeling the movement in the body. And then just noticing the surrounding environment, maybe wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers. And when you're ready to open your eyes, or you can stay with the breath, it's up to you. And that pretty much brings us to 1:30. 1 hour and 30 minutes. So thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it so much. I love sharing with you guys, and you gave me some great ideas for future videos. So I will work on that. And if you ever want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, on email. I'm available. If you want to support me or donate to me, you can do it through my PayPal, which is linked on my YouTube channel, as well as on all the descriptions of my videos. So that's totally up to you, but I appreciate the support if you do support me. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in my future videos. Bye for now, guys.